He goes, "Is this stool taken?" Speaking of this week, clients, we're doing stool samples, just so you guys all know. UAs. Okay. What do you get when you cross a chicken and a fox? Just the fox. I did not get that one for the longest time. It was like, wouldn't you get like a chicken fox, you know? Yeah. Just so everyone is clear tonight, I put my contacts in. Let it hit. Stephen King has a son named Joe. I'm not joking. He is. Yeah, he is. Yeah. A few years ago, a few Valentine's days ago, I was at work, and my girlfriend at the time called me. She was at work, and she said, "Kyle, 3 girls here had flowers sent to them, and they're absolutely gorgeous." And I said, "Well, that's probably why." I got home, and when I did, there was a note on the fridge that said, "Yeah, this isn't working. I'm moving back to my mom's." Well, I opened the fridge, and it was, so I don't know what she was talking about. That's all I got to say about that.
Does it sound all right? Renee, does it sound all right? I see Renee.
Yeah, she thumbs up.
Okay. Somebody I can see. I was 10 months sober. I was upstairs in this house, and secretly I had been begun to play poker without my mother knowing. They always correlated poker with the destruction of my life prior, because it was, whether I won or lost, it was always no money, because I would spend it on drugs either way. And you don't gamble that good when you're smoking crack cocaine. But she didn't want me to start doing that. My dad died. I was 7 months sober when my dad died in July. And my dad was very adamant that he wanted me to do this hard work with this truck. I had a dump truck, and I was doing this kind of work. And my father was the kind of guy that he made it so that he told me that a man does his own work. He didn't even want me to have employees. He wanted me to do a hard day's work. And he told me how to build my business. He said, "You just do it one lawn at a time, and you build this landscaping business." And then he would do the math for me. He would say $50 a lawn, and you do 10 lawns a week. That's $500 a week. And then I was like, oh, but I got it. For me, I wasn't really like that. So then my mom, when my dad died in July, I started. It took me till September, because I didn't dare play poker when my dad was alive, because he was pretty strict and he was on me. And by the way, I was 37 years old, but I lived with him, so I didn't want to. I didn't want to break any of his rules. So when he died, I started sneaking off to play, and my mom I would take the dump truck and park it at the casino and just stay there all day, and then and I started hiring people behind my mom's back and so I would hire people, and I'd put the dump truck over at the job site, and then I'd go play poker all day, and I would just make sure these guys got the job done. Plus they were better at landscaping than I was. I wasn't very good at that kind of stuff anyways, so they would get it done better, and I figured it was a better way to do things. But I started having success fairly quickly with poker, and I started building up. And I had at the time, I probably had about, $6,000 in my pocket. And I was 10 months sober, and it was October, and I had to leave. And I had to leave to go to my ex-girlfriend's a funeral, and in Spokane. And my mom was telling me, but I didn't have a credit card. So my mother was telling me, I was like, "Mom, I need to borrow your credit card so I could rent a car." Because at the time I had a real shitty car, and I didn't want to drive it over to Spokane. So I was asking her to, and she yelled at me, and she goes, you need to get a job. And I was like, oh, okay. And the job that she recommended was Fred Meyer's. So she told me that, and I'm 37 years old, I live here. And she said, you need to go to Fred Meyer's and get a job. And I said, why Fred Meyer's? I was like, that's a weird place to go. But she said, anything to get started. You need to stock shelves. Just go stock the shelves at Fred Meyer's. You need a job to get your feet underneath you and this and that. And so I pulled out like $6,000. I don't remember what it was, $3,000, $6,000, whatever it was. I pulled it out of my pocket and I set it down under the table. And I said, Mom, I'm not getting a job at Fred Meyer. And then I broke it to her. I said, I've been playing poker and that's where I go every day. And that's what I'm going to do. I'm not going to go to Fred Meyer. So, but the point of the story is that as a rebellion to what I've seen lately with addiction, and after 11 years of working with it and listening to everything that's been said and told me that was true, and a lot of times throughout this process in the last 5 years of building my business and my program, people have mentioned to me that I brainwash people, and that's been some, it's a kid getting high and he says, all right, don't go to Art's group, Mom, because he brainwashes you, and that's kind of a lot of the kids things. In fact, Becky's son Brett wrote a song. What was the name of the song?
My parents listened to Art, now I'm fucked.
Yeah, and that was I mean, he had it. I had him play it for me. It was great, but
Huh?
You might have
to repeat that. Did they hear that at home? That's a good title. That was really good.
Yeah. My parents listened to Art, now I'm fucked. Well, and so that became the thing, is that I was about this brainwashing, but really, I think brainwashing begins, it's a real thing that we start taking on a story and believe in it. And we start taking on that story, whether we've experienced it or not. And what happens is we start experiencing it after we've taken on that story. And I think in the addiction world, I've really, and especially in the last couple months, come to these conclusions that, wow, I was brainwashed, and I was brainwashed into believing that everything they say is just true. And I got to just listen to that. And, one of the things we hear all the time is stigma, this big word about stigma. And, normally what it comes from is a person who's not an addict trying to defend addicts and say that we should remove the stigma. And it's this big movement that these people have. I think that recently in Washington State specifically, the last 5 years, there's been a drug addict civil rights movement, founded by people that aren't drug addicts, but just some people that really want to protect our best interests for some reason, and fight for our right to live in a tent and do drugs on the street and take dumps wherever we want to take dumps, and really not have any accountability. And I think they miss the mark when they say there's a stigma on being an addict, and I can prove it to you in this room, because there's not an addict in this room that really felt it was tough to be an addict, or felt that they were mad at being called an addict. Is anyone here? Raise your hand if you were upset with being called an addict. Yeah. Huh?
By certain people, yeah.
Okay. Well, you were one.
Yeah.
So that's a stupid thing to be upset about. I mean, really. Oh yeah, by your dope dealer. Okay, yeah. So here we are, a room full of former people that use drugs, and not one of us raised our hand and said we gave a shit if someone called us a junkie. Not one of us gave a shit if someone called us an addict. No one gave a shit. We don't care. No. You can say all you want when I'm shooting heroin. You can call me whatever you want. Just bring the dope. So it's this, and then, so why? Why is anyone in this world saying that we need to remove the stigma? Why? Who's coming up with this idea? Now, there is a problem with addiction and recovery. It's what happens when you're not an addict anymore. It's what happens when you get here. It's what happens when you don't have addict as a title. And all you're left with is behind. All you're left with is 30 years old when your friends are 30 years old with homes and kids and trailers and camping gear, and they go on vacations, and you're nothing. So it's not the idea of being an addict that's the problem. It's what happens after. It's the problem of sitting with yourself when, being in recovery just isn't enough. You can say all you want, I'm in recovery, but everyone in this room knows if they get really honest with themselves, it ain't enough. It don't play well at the 20-year reunion. It don't play well at the family reunion. They go, what do you got? What stuff do you have? And so it was, it's then with the brainwashing, somehow it's been that if you've been in addiction, what you're supposed to do then is somehow then not do drugs, but then it's not enough to not do drugs. You need to get around a group of people and talk about how you don't do drugs. And that has become some type of format that is mandatory for people. Like, well, because I used to do drugs every day, now I don't do drugs every day. So I must go to some meeting place, Janet. I must go to some meeting place and talk about that.
Celebrate that I don't do drugs.
But it's kind of weird. It's kind of a weird thing. And that's kind of like what I'm here to point out. Like, why do we do that? So then when we started forming our groups, it was like, well, we need to talk about addiction. But the reality is that we need to talk about life. But for some reason, we wanted to talk about how addiction correlates to life. And now we're supposed to tie it all in. And so one of the things that I kept trying to do, which I'm getting to the point where I don't see anymore, I can't correlate life with why or why not somebody uses drugs. So I can't correlate love. I can't correlate love's over here in life. Connection is over here in life. Another thing that always really frustrated me was when somebody told me that addicts have low self-esteem. And it was always somebody that wasn't an addict telling me that I had low self-esteem. And I'm like, where do you even come up with that? How do you know I have low self-esteem? Well, they must. Well, what is your right to say that? Are you an addict? No, but addicts have low self-esteem. Who told you that? Who even made that up? And we're supposed to just buy into it. Okay, well, I'm an addict. Now I got low self-esteem. Why? I have low self-confidence. I have low self-worth. Why? Well, because I did drugs. And it's the only other thing that say that the people have correlated with if I had a gambling addiction, that wouldn't have my mom tell me I need a job at Fred Meyer's. If I had a food addiction, but I could be a lawyer, but because I've had a food addiction, my mom wants me to settle to work at Fred Meyer's. What is this? What is this correlation between a lack of talent and drug addiction? What if you were addicted to anything else but drugs? Would that correlate that you need to do a job that's less than your abilities? But all of a sudden, somebody comes into recovery and we say, you need to do a job that's less than your abilities. You need to do a job that is menial, that is a task. And guess what? When you get your license, like a 16-year-old kid does, we're going to all stand in this room and clap like you've achieved something. We're going to achieve something when you we've won this. I remember it was one kid stood up in the middle of one of our meetings, still looking back, and he stood up and he goes, I got to tell you a story. I was like, okay, this is good. And he said, today we were at the super mall and I was in a van and I backed into another car and I didn't leave. I didn't just leave the scene. He goes, I wrote a note and said that I hit their car and I got the person to call me. And now they call me and I have to own up. And I paid for it. And I went and everyone clapped. Now imagine if a group of normal people said that. And we're clapping because the person didn't leave. We're talking about addicts and saying that we're happy that you didn't lie today. We're just happy you didn't lie today. We're just okay with this. So with all this brainwashing, what I've seen is, and all this thing that we've just assumed, if somebody was addicted to Hershey bars, he just couldn't stop eating them. And he had the talents to be a lawyer, the talents to play professional poker. Why would somebody tell me I has to go work at Fred Meyer? Well, you've been eating Hershey bars. What we are is not low self-worth. We're not low self-esteem. What we are is behind. We're behind. That's it. And because you've been in this world of addiction so long, you've been brainwashed into thinking that you're less than. You've been brainwashed into think that you don't have any talent. You've been brainwashed into thinking that you somehow should have low self-worth, low self-esteem. No, you just lied a bit because you did drugs. Don't lie anymore. Don't lie. Don't lie. go get the job that your talents fit. You don't have to settle. So, but what's true is what's come about is that for me now, there's two different languages. I don't need to try to correlate. And I used to try to come up with a solution to why this behavior in life would equal not doing drugs anymore. And everybody wants that. So what's the behavior that somebody could do that we could talk about you doing that would make it show that you don't want to do drugs anymore? And I have come to the conclusion that there isn't one. There is not a behavior that I can tell you to do that will stop you from using drugs. But that's what everyone's going off with this premise. We need to get in a room. We need to talk about a behavior or a way of life that I could do so I don't want to use drugs anymore. Guess what? Over here is using drugs or not using drugs. Nothing's going to stop that. Nothing's going to say that you do or you don't. And over here is life. But you could go on in life and do everything perfectly and behave perfectly and go to a meeting every day and do everything that they tell you to do. And guess what? People use drugs. Or maybe you can do nothing that they can tell you to do. And guess what? People don't use drugs. There's so many people in this world that have quit drugs and alcohol with doing nothing. So many people. In fact, so many people that it's most people. In fact, if you really looked at the number of people that have quit drugs and alcohol, most of them quit without anything. Most of them quit without some certain behavior that they can nail down to. And so, but what's real is I've been around this for 11 years. And what's real is because you're behind, because you've been told a certain thing, what's real about everything that's in this room. And where I came up with this, and you know, we started with mindfulness. Mindfulness was a solution to addiction. And it was big. It kind of worked. We were like, wow, this works. If somebody could see a craving and kind of experience it, maybe they can stop it. Well, I'm here to tell you that I can see the craving for an Oreo come on from a mile away. And there's no stopping it. It doesn't matter how mindful I am. It doesn't matter. I'm mindfully going to eat the cookies out of the cabinet. It doesn't matter. You could ride the urge of craving. Good luck with that one. Try that one. I don't know. And with every behavior that is pleasurable, everything that we do, so mindfulness, then we had to try to tie it into why that would make it so if you practice mindfulness, then you wouldn't get loaded. No, what mindfulness does is mindfulness teaches you about yourself. It truly does. It lets you be honest with yourself. It lets you really, really see yourself. And one thing that's come about through and what mindfulness is, if you don't know, it's just a point in your life or a point in your experience as a human being where you start paying attention to yourself. You start paying attention to your experience rather than paying attention to the external world. So it's just a switch. It goes from, somebody stays on high alert and pays attention to the outside world and what other people are doing and other people's behavior and their boss and this and that, and they complain. And then mindfulness just is a movement. It's a movement that says, I kind of live up here and I watch my own experience. I watch how this experience is causing an experience in me. And then I watch how I handle that. And so mindfulness is just a way to get to know yourself. And through getting to know myself, it's the way that I can teach you how to get to know yourself. It's what's happened. It's how I've learned to teach. I don't teach through anything else but the awareness that I've had. Now, one thing that I've found recently is there's something that no one talks about. And through mindfulness, I've discovered this, that there was something in my experience recently, and there's something been in my experience through the whole time, and I've never really nailed what it was, but it's been created. And what that is doubt. And, we're sitting in this room and everybody's wondering about getting better and wondering about achieving things and wondering about if they can tell their family member the right words and wondering about if they can get their family member in treatment. And they're wondering about if they can succeed at this. And you're wondering well, guess what you're up against? So with mindfulness, if you look and you see what you're up against is doubt. And if you really look, there's so much doubt in this room. And we've been doing this for so many years and nobody's ever raised their hand and go, you know what? I doubt I can do that. Nobody really raises their hand and goes, you know what? I'm kind of scared. I doubt that I can get a better job. I doubt that, there's doubt in relationships. There's doubt in There's guys in this room that came into recovery and they go, I doubt I can ever get a good looking girl again. I doubt I can get a pretty girl. I doubt. So I'm going to settle for whatever. Yeah. But one thing that I've noticed is that that's what the most truthful thing that a person can say is doubt. They can find their own doubt and be truthful with it. So you can say it. So how do we even get to a point where you can say, and no one ever is truthful? Just think of two fighters go into the ring. Well, the guy that's going to lose is the guy that has more doubt. It's for sure. It's already over. Like they're walking up to the ring and one guy has less doubt that he can win than the other guy. And he's not fighting the other person. He's fighting doubt. And in anything we're doing, we're fighting this doubt. And if you're here, parents come to me and I give them the words to go tell their kid. And they very rarely ever go, I doubt I can say it the way you just said it. I doubt that I can do it the way you want me to do it. And we don't deal with the doubt. We don't talk about the doubt. We don't deal with it. We don't say, this is what I'm doing. And all of you, I've been in recovery meetings for 11 years. I've never heard anyone go, I just have doubt that I can get a good job. I have doubt that I'm equal to another person. I've had doubt that I could stay sober. I can tell you I've stayed sober for 11 years, and I can tell you from the start of my sobriety, there was not a doubt. That's why I've stayed sober for 11 years. There's never been a doubt. I look back at things that I've succeeded on. There's no doubt. Things that I've failed on, there's doubt. Almost everything that I don't follow through with, I went to school. There was doubt that I was going to finish. I didn't. So some of you in this room, kids are starting, and you're going to go sign up for things. You're going to go do things. You're going to go say, I want to go to school. You're going to say, I want to go back to school. You're going to say, I want to try to get this other job. Well, guess what? If you're not honest enough to see the doubt inside you, you're not honest enough to say it, you're not honest enough to deal with it, you will fail. You will fail. There's not a way around it. And you won't fail because you're a failure. You'll fail because you will doubt yourself, which will lead you to self-sabotage yourself. It's the doubt that will lead you to make a mistake. It's the doubt that will make it so you don't want to get up and go to school. It's the doubt that will make it so you don't want to say the words that you need to say. So what I want to have come out of it is that, well, we're sitting here, a group of people that are trying to get more successful at something than we were. I hope that's why we're here. We're trying to get more successful at something or better at something. And I would say to get better at anything, what eliminates is doubt, no matter what it is. Almost anything that you've gotten better at, what happens is there's a reduction of your doubt. There's a reduction of the fear that you can get it done. Nobody doubts that they can wash their car. So you go and you do it. Nobody doubts that they can wake up and brush their teeth. So you go and you do it. You don't doubt that you can cook macaroni and cheese. So you successfully pull it off and cook this beautiful pot of macaroni and cheese. But then some kid will doubt that he can cook a finer meal. So what does it? Well, one, it's, are you practicing an awareness program? Are you actually looking into yourself and being honest with yourself? Somebody said yesterday, just don't know, this whole thing, I don't know what I'm thinking. I've been baffled by this for a long time, asking somebody what they're thinking and getting the answer, I don't know. What the fuck? What are you talking about? Hey, what are you thinking about? I don't know. Yeah. You don't know what you're thinking about? Blow your brains out. Shoot yourself. You have to be a moron. I mean, seriously, that is moronic to say that you don't know what either you're lying, or you don't want to tell someone. Okay, fine.
Oh, there's nothing in there.
No, there is. Or you're not watching, or you're not looking at it. You're not aware. But through this, if you want now remember over here, I am not claiming here that mindfulness will keep you sober. I'm not. I'm not claiming that anything we talk about over here in the life realm will make it so that when you're sitting in your car with your cell phone and $20, you're either going to call the dope man or you're not. I don't know. Don't claim to have that solution. I claim that if you want to succeed, you want to improve your life and the quality of it, that mindfulness will actually let you get to know yourself, like at least to the level that other people know you. You know that a lot of people in this room, other people know you better than you know you. That's insane. And the reason other people would know you better than you know you is because that you worry about other people. And that you don't pay attention to your own experience because you're too busy fixated on what everybody else is doing to screw you over, what everybody else is doing to bother you, what everybody else is doing that's annoying. But when you're getting annoyed, you don't say, why am I getting annoyed? What is inside of here that's being annoyed? What is this? You say they're annoying. They're the problem. So I've had to come to terms, like I've said the last couple of weeks, I've had to come to terms with these talks and how they correlate and how I can preach to a kid about a certain behavior and have him use drugs 2 hours later, and how really we could do anything for somebody, whether they were going to use drugs or not. But what we can do is we can help eliminate doubt with each other. We can do that. And I want you to know that if somebody's in early recovery, and this is what I will defend, to be in early recovery and to be behind sucks. And I hope everybody agrees with me. Do you guys all agree with me? I don't hope, but is there an agreement in this room, the addicts in the room or people in the recovery in the room? Is there an agreement that sucks? That's the part that sucks, that your friends from high school call you and say, let's go out to dinner, and you don't want to go because it ain't easy going out and listening to how they went to their beach house and they went to their vacation.
Even if you have friends.
Yes. Like the beach house. If you still have friends.
You don't even have money to go.
You don't have money to go. And so this is the tough part, is that begins to leave you in a place where if you don't look closely, you will doubt yourself. And if you doubt yourself, you will fail, and you will fail not because you're a failure. You will fail because you doubt yourself. But if you're honest with the doubt, hey, I look at my friends that have a house. We talked about this last night. I will tell you 100% truthful, I don't know a way around it. And you can shine it up any way you want to shine it up. But to me, when I was in a room and I didn't own a home, and I was in a room with homeowners, I felt less than. Now you can say that's not true for you. You can do whatever you want. But I had to come to a conclusion that my worth, the way I feel about myself and my self-worth, did have to do with the acquiring of stuff. I just had to be honest with myself when I took a look, that I was not going to feel the same if this guy pulled up in a Mercedes and I was on a Schwinn. That something inside me went, that person is more qualified than me, or smarter than me, or something than me. And it wasn't easy when I looked at my wallet and it had a state insurance card and an EBT card. And my friend's wallet had a debit card and 10 credit cards and American Express. And that person, to me, I felt was more worthy than I am, had more worth. Now, maybe you can find another way to gain self-worth other than achievements. I don't know. We'd have to be honest. Yeah, maybe purpose, but it's still difficult. You know, if that purpose doesn't lead you to a home, at least some resemblance of autonomy. So I think that, you know, for me, there's life, and there's doing drugs and not doing drugs. And I always thought I was trying to help people not do drugs or do drugs, but I'm not. There's nothing I can do. That's not my job. So my job then, if I have one, is that we sit and discuss life. And if we're going to do that, I'd like it to be as honest as possible. And to be as honest as possible with me, you have to be as honest as possible with yourself. And we have to, and to do that, I would suggest that mindfulness would be the way, that this looking at myself would leave me in a place where I could be honest with myself. So
There's a two of them, or just one?
there's two. So kind of just to recap a little bit, and to me, this has been big. I've been, and just so you get like a sense of where I'm coming from with this, I've been, really delving into the world of professional poker, and I've been playing every day, and it's a competition, and it's pretty fierce. And I'll tell you that one thing about the life conversations that we've had in this room, they are all true, whether they've changed a bit or not. And I think the only thing that's changed is that we're no longer saying that these life conversations that we're having will equate to sobriety. We're just saying that these life conversations are important to have, but don't for a minute think that that's going to keep anyone sober. And in our program, like Kyle always says, to do our program, you just can't use drugs. And if you do use drugs, then you're just not doing our program, because we clearly tell you not to do that. So we're not going to take credit for that either way. We're just going to say that's kind of the mandatory part of the program. And somebody goes, well, your program don't work. Well, our program isn't for doing drugs or not doing drugs. We clearly tell you not to do that. So that's the dumbest shit I ever heard. That's not a part of the program. Yeah. So if you did drugs, you didn't do the program. You did drugs. So it's not our fault. It's yours. So I mean, it's not as if we're suggesting to you that you do our program and that'll make it so you don't want to do drugs.
We told you not to.
I mean, there isn't a program that would make it so you don't want to do. Drugs are marvelous. They're a really good feeling thing to do. I mean, they're a marvelous thing to do. What could I convince you that's better than that?
Purity and selfness.
Yeah, I mean, we're going to sit here and then try to suggest that somehow if you go some arbitrary place every day and speak to a bunch of arbitrary people, that would make it so you don't want to enjoy the...
Yeah, typically if you still want to do drugs, you're gonna do them. You have to get to the point where you don't want to do drugs.
And that's on you, right? And that's on you in your own life. That's not on us.
They take you.
It's a commitment,
Yeah. Well, and then, and if you're sitting here in this room and you doubt whether you want to use drugs anymore or not, I would say, if there is good luck. Good luck. And if there's a way around that, it would be to at least be honest with the fact that you do doubt that. That would be the first step, is to say, hey, listen, I'm in this program and I'm telling you, I doubt whether I want to do drugs or not. I doubt whether I want to stay sober or not. Well, that would be the first thing to be honest about.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm telling you, I sit and I'll tell you what happens right before failure. Doubt. It's 100%. I've been watching it close. Before I fail, before I lose, I doubt. Before I win, I don't doubt. It's like that. And anything you did successfully today, there wasn't doubt behind it. You just did it. And anything that you had a hard time with, you faced doubt. And so I would say if we're having a hard time, there would be one thing to talk about. Like if a losing team doubts that they could beat a winning team. For me, it would seem like the losing team should get together and talk about their doubt. Then talk about what to do about that.
Well, I think a lot of it is focus too. Like when you have doubt in your mind is partially towards the doubt, and like,
Oh, yeah.
the focus forward gets you through too. Like without that.
Yeah.
And to add to what he said, I agree, because I've kind of always been kind of a cocky rooster, but it's always kind of hid a lot of self-insecurities and stuff. I did 12 years in the military, and what I found is all the doubts I had, if I was able to focus on what it took to beat those things that cause the doubts, which usually just self-perceived insecurities, it helped me get through them. And I've just found that if you can not let those doubts overwhelm you and consume you, which leads to the failure or the self-induced failure, it slowly eliminates those doubts. It helps you overcome those fears and how they consume you. Like the job I have now, working for Puget Sound Energy, I know nothing about electricity.
Oh, Jesus, great.
And I'm not joking. I used to lock myself in my bedroom for every night for 3 years and tell these guys at the family to leave me alone because I was terrified of failing.
Yeah.
And I took depression medicine because I was in the military at the same time, and I couldn't handle all because I was an E6. I had 28 soldiers that I'm supposed to be accountable for, trying to take a test which is up or out.
Yeah.
So my whole life is based on it.
Yeah.
You know, and there's always doubt. It's just how do you either let it beat you or you beat it, you know, and it's
Well, my kind of endeavor into like what comes first and chicken or the egg thing with it, and is there doubt first and there's failure, or is the failure cause the doubt, and whether I can eliminate it or can I not. I'm up against, and you know, I like to say like I'm up against somebody that I doubt I can beat. It's tricky. So then what do you do? Well, then I think that it becomes, and if somebody is in this room doubting whether they can stay sober, doubting whether you can buy a house, or doubting, well, really what eliminates doubt? Well, knowledge, skills. As you increase and work on your knowledge and skills, you gain more, you know, the less doubt. And so, but you know, and that leads me back to the brainwashing, because the brainwashing will lead you to a point where you don't believe that that's the pathway, that you're just behind. What you'll believe is that you're less than, and you just need to do something that's more your speed. And, you know, you find drug addicts all over, talented people that have used to be using drugs, talented people that are actually the leader of their family, you know, moving a box from this shelf to this shelf because they've been told that, you know, they're just not good enough to do anything else.
They deserve.
Yeah, that you need to do that. And even my mom, and look at the doubt my mother had in me. You know, I look back to that, and that creates doubt. We doubt our family members who are addicts. We doubt our friends who are addicts. And I look back at that doubt that she had in me, and she thought her boy at 37 years old, or her boy, which I should have been a man, but I wasn't. But she thought that I was qualified only to go up and stock the shelves at Fred Meyer's. And she didn't have any, I don't think she had any idea of how to maybe nurture confidence and talent inside of me. But I kind of just ripped that off on my own. You know, I mean,
one of the things that drove me is I used to get pissed off about people saying, you know, you're an idiot. You know, you don't have a chance.
Yeah.
Then I would, succeed to these jobs, and it was kind of like, here I am now, you know.
Yeah.
The same thing you're doing, just as good. You know?
I don't think I have never experienced anyone actually like telling me I'm stupid or like that actual thing. I haven't personally in my, you know, or I couldn't do something. I always hear people that succeed say that, like, everyone told me I couldn't do it. I've never like seen that along the way or faced that, but I have faced people just wanting you to slow down or wanting you to settle. And that was the big thing that, you know, I experienced. And for me, that's what happened. People say, well, why don't, because I went to AA, I did, and I went every day, and I did that's how I got sober. And I'm telling you, there became a definite point where they were happy for me for mediocre successes. Every time I get a mediocre success, if I bought a 1992 Toyota Camry, clapping in rage, great job with the Camry, good, your speed kind of thing, If I got a 2-bedroom apartment or a 1-bedroom apartment, great job, you got an apartment.
You're now a manager at McDonald's.
Yeah. If I came and said I just bought a $1 million home, slow down. You might get drunk. You might do drugs. And they weren't happy for me anymore. And if I said that's my Mercedes outside, no, you're showing off or what? No. So I just had this weird experience that way. So I have resentments towards that. But the reality is that the stuff created doubt in me. The stories that we've told about addicts and what you're going to have as an addict and what you're going to keep your whole life, and how you have this affliction that makes you kind of inferior to everybody, and you need to go to this place every day and drink coffee with these old men, and you're only qualified to move the chairs around, dummy, and don't say anything for your first year and all that kind of shit. Like, I don't have a year, dude. Like, I don't have a year. I didn't have a year to shut up. I'm sorry, but I didn't. I just wasted 17 of them and I'm behind. Yeah. And so I got to get fucking going. I don't got a year to sit here and move these chairs around. And then they told me I had to help people. That was a mistake. I wish I wouldn't have done that. Somebody should have told me to get a real job. Art, you could have been a lawyer. No, they didn't say that. You can now just help addicts. That's all you're qualified to do. I wish I would have been a lawyer, man. Damn. I'm good at arguing. I argue anyway. So, I just think that being truthful with all this, and mindfulness is the way. It's the way to say, this is what I'm experiencing right now. This is what I'm thinking right now. And that's part, I try to encourage everyone, to tell me more about what you're experiencing. And, whether you want to go be a lawyer, or you want to go buy a home, or you want to go do this, well, then you need to talk about the doubt, because the doubt will show you the pathway to what you need to do next. It really will, because it'll show you exactly what it is that you're not learning. And then you learn it. And then once you learn it, you won't have any more doubt. You just do the thing. So anyways, I don't know. A lot of times I get stuff on my mind for like a week or whatever, and doubt has been on my mind for a week, because what's happened is I looked back to when I wasn't having as much success playing poker, and now I'm having way more success than I've had in a long time. And what's happened is I've played every day. I've worked on my skills. I've practiced. And what's been eliminated is doubt. And it's not there anymore. And now I look back to what used to happen to me at the poker table. What would happen is I'd be playing with guys that I thought were better than me, and I doubted that I could beat them. And because I doubted that I could beat them, I would like self-sabotage myself and do stupid shit. And I can clearly look back and see the stupid shit that I did that caused me to lose. It wasn't that they beat me, it was that I beat myself. And with that elimination of this doubt, I no longer beat myself at the poker table. They have to beat me, and they can't, because they're struggling with their own doubt. And maybe they're not mindful enough to admit it. And so you won't get better. But everyone sitting in this room, what is the pathway to better? What is the pathway for everyone on here? Well, it would be the elimination of doubt. Well, the elimination of doubt about what? Well, whatever you want to get better at. Whatever you want to get better at, you're sitting here doubting you can. Whatever that is. For sure. And so what would happen? Well, you would get better at it, and then what would be gone? Not that you got better at it, the doubt would be gone. So to me, I've been working on this, and it's pretty clear. If I want to get better at anything, I just got to eliminate doubt. And to eliminate doubt, I just be truthful with it and then work on it. And that's anything, Now I'm not sitting here claiming that I don't have a lot of doubt. It's there. You know, I'm going to head down to the series, and guess what? As you get rid of doubt about the people that you play with around here, I'm going to head down to the series. I'm going to be playing with more talented people. Guess what's going to be prevalent? Doubt. Guess what's probably going to happen? You get beat. You see? And so, you know, but then guess what? What if I practice more and I get more confidence and I work on that skill and I cultivate it? And then next year I go and there's less doubt. And then next year there's less. And then finally there's no doubt. And then I beat everyone. So, you know, I sometimes like think like, oh man, we got this huge community. How could we go this many years and not talk about our doubts if we're trying to get better? I have doubts about food and eating right. I doubt I could do it sometimes. I fail. Just think there's somebody that has no doubt about eating right. They just do it all the time. You know?
So what would you suggest is the pathway to eliminating the doubt, for an example of eating right? Talking about it?
Well, again, just like that, it's over here too. Again, there's two different discussions, right? There's, am I committed to eating right yet or not? Truthfully. You know, no one's going to stop you or no one's going to help you. Something that's the trickiest, baffling part right there is I've never truly in the history of my life so far, a man that's dealt in the world of change, a man that's changed a lot, myself, I believe, over time. I've never seen change happen through inspiration. Still yet, I hear it all the time that other people inspire people to change. I don't see that. Where I happen to see change happen the most, for me, I see change happen through pain.
Absolutely.
That's what I see. And I don't see change happen through inspiration.
Fear.
Change might happen culturally through inspiration. Martin Luther King was pretty damn inspired, that kind of thing. But these personal battles that we have to change, no one can inspire us. And in fact, when we're trying to eat right and some bouncy, happy, eating right motherfucker comes on telling you about yourself, that's not inspiring. It's fact the opposite. You want that person to shut up. Come on, man. These broccoli, or what are those things you cooked me? The spaghetti squash. This spaghetti squash is just like spaghetti.
It's fun.
It's fun.
It's fun.
No, it's not. Spaghetti squash sucks. No, you want me to be inspired to eat right? Make it taste right. You don't. So yeah, that's the thing. Is over here with drugs, with whatever it is, there's this predicament because I don't know how we do that. When we be honest with our commitment, but this is tough because I can't take no one to that point. Pain takes people to that point. I can't convince people to eat right. I can't convince myself to eat right. I can't convince people to, save their money better or manage their money better. I can't convince people to do drugs or not do drugs. That's over here on you. That's on your life and your experience and what pain you've dealt with and how much pain's happened and what you've, kind of guilt or whatever that's come up that's the shame you feel, the guilt you feel, whatever you feel. It comes to you, eat right, doing drugs. Maybe it comes to your leg falling off. Maybe it comes to your heart being clogged and you do a bypass or, whatever it is. But I still haven't seen this person change, especially off drug addiction. I've never seen an inspired recovering drug addict. I've never seen a drug addict like, woo, that lecture Art you gave, shit. I was going to do heroin tonight, but your lecture, shit. That music, never seen it. I've seen pain in people's life. And when they get enough, and I've never seen love inspire it either. I've seen I've seen loved obese people eating cake. I've seen loved drug addicts taking drugs. I don't think I go to the cake because I'm feeling a lack of love. There's a lot of love at the birthday party. And there I am. You know? So I don't know. But I do feel the pain of how I feel that night after I eat the cake. And that makes me like think a little bit at the next birthday party. And over time, from the time I started eating cake at birthday parties, it's gotten a little worse and a little more painful every goddamn year. Until now, it ain't the same as a 13-year-old jumping into that cake, getting it all over your face, enjoying it. There's no joy in it. There's you can taste the shame in that shit. You know?
Smells like shame.
Yeah. And you know all the same thing about drugs. You know, your drugs had a lot of joy in them. There was a lot of joy. I remember I used to do drugs, and the first thing I did was turn the music up. That could tell me that I was in a joyful state. I did drugs and turned the music up and want to dance or whatever. Not dance, literally. You know. Well, then now I got to the end, I did drugs and put my head in my hands. I did drugs and put my head down in my hands and cried. They said, this ain't working. And I was loved and loved and loved and loved and loved, but nothing did it until that. Nothing did it until the pain. So there's two, I want to be clear that that's the thing that I'm trying to get across to people is we're not here to talk about a person doing drugs or not drugs, and a family cannot help with that. I don't believe that's true. I don't believe other family members can come together and make it so a lot of people come to Solution Group and their question is, how do I make it so my family member doesn't do drugs anymore? You don't. You don't.
Truly.
You just don't. And what you can do though is because you can talk to them about doubt. We can talk to them about real factual things like how you're behind. You know what an IRA is? You know, an IRA. Like somebody opens up an IRA when they're 22. You're now 34 and you don't have one. You're 12 years behind. You're screwed. And people don't have that kind of honest conversation. But you're screwed because of compound interest and you don't have another 7 years like they had for it to double. And so real conversations about life, will that make it, does an IRA make it so you don't do drugs? No, it makes it so you can retire. It makes it so you don't have to work when you're 65 years old. That's what an IRA does. Does mindfulness make it so you don't want to do drugs? No, but you'll see the cravings coming and then you'll do it anyways. And you'll be very mindful while you're using drugs. You know? Okay. Well, what else? Well, there's doubt. There's doubt. That's true. So there's doubt. And if you don't know if you can buy a Mercedes, it's because you have doubt that you can buy a Mercedes. So you want a Mercedes, but you don't know if you can buy one. Okay, well, what's that? That's doubt. Okay, we'll deal with the doubt. Talk about it. Say something. Eliminate it. There, you eliminate the doubt, you have yourself a Mercedes. There. Don't know if you can buy a house? Yeah. I don't know. I've never seen a group of drug addicts honestly sit around a room and go, do you think we can buy a house? They don't even say anything. So everyone just puts on a front, doing great, got my shit together. No, you don't. No, you don't. You know, and then there's the other things. There's the little things. I look at Jeff, and I'll use the example. Jeff wants to go to law school. Yeah, but see, here's the deal. You got to make your bed. Well, why does making my bed have to do with going to law school? It has to do with follow through. It has to do with doubt. It's because you doubt that you're going to follow through to law school, but you haven't put together a winning streak about making your bed for 5 days in a row. But if you made your bed for 5 days in a row, now you might think that maybe it's possible for you to go to class for 5 days in a row. And if all your clothes are clean, you woke up every day at 7 a.m. already, and it might be easy to wake up at 7 a.m. and go to school. And if you don't watch television and Netflix all day, then when you go to law school, you won't want to watch television and Netflix all day, and you see how that kind of. And so there is a fundamental thing with this. See, the problem is that when we don't have a stigma, nobody cares. When I'm a heroin junkie, that's cool. I'll even tell my aunts and uncles can say, what are you doing with your life? And I can say, I'm shooting heroin every day, Aunt Shirley. and I don't feel bad. I don't. I never felt any kind of way about that. I felt kind of cool. She'd be like, ooh, you're dangerous. And yeah. You know? Yeah, you're hardcore. I'm like, yeah, I shoot heroin, smoke crack, Aunt Shirley. Yeah. And I used to like telling her too, because my nephew or my cousin, Corey, he worked for the Pentagon, and then her other son was a oral surgeon, and she would tell me about what they do. And what are you doing with your life? My son is an oral surgeon and the other one works for the Pentagon. I go, I smoke crack and shoot heroin. I thought it was cool. But then it wasn't cool because once I stopped and I was 37 and I lived with my parents and I drove a 92 Toyota Camry and I didn't have a bank account. Now that's when times are tough. Now that's where your heart's got to come into play. That's where you got to show and you got to talk about all the doubt you have in yourself as a human being. You got to talk about what it feels like to walk into a room of people and feel inferior because of your car, how you park it down the street because you don't want people to see it, how you walk into a bank and feel like you're remembering, you walk into that bank with that first check that's real and you wonder, well, are they going to cash it or not? Because I went in here with so many checks that I tried to pawn off as a real check that wasn't. That I don't even belong in a bank anymore. You think I don't know about that? Now I walk in the bank, hey, Mr. Dolan, how are you? Now that took work, but it also took honesty to mindfulness to say, I know that experience. I can articulate that experience of walking into a bank with a check that's real, thinking they were going to turn me away. Looking at my bank every day, thinking for sure it's going to be empty because somebody took the money that I owe them. I know all about that shit. And that time is tough. So that's why it's tough to get sober. It's tough to get sober because you got to sit when the chips are down and like have no doubt in yourself. It's the same in poker. It's all easy, man. When I got all the chips in the poker tournament and I'm the chip leader, oh man, there's no doubt I'm going to win. Everyone's ha ha ha. Everything's all funny. And people always know something with me because I've learned. I see a lot of people talk when they got chips. So I was playing in a poker tournament, the main event at Pendleton this weekend, and they're down to like 20 of us or whatever in this tournament. And they said, hey, you haven't talked all day. And I said, yeah, I have all the chips. I don't talk when I have chips. I talk when I'm out of chips because I talk my way into chips, not out of them. And so for me, it's that times when it's down. It's the times when I don't have anything. It's the times when people are doubting you. That's the times that are the times where you prove who you are. And that's the times where people in here go back to drugs because it's quicker and easier. It's quicker and easier to take a shot of heroin, feel real good, and say you're a junkie. Pawn that shit off that people try to run by me. I'm a drug addict. No, you ain't. That ain't even a thing.
Well, it takes doubt away.
Yeah. But being a drug addict ain't even a thing. Somebody made that shit up. Somebody even made that shit up. What do you mean? Somebody made that up. You call yourself that? You call yourself what somebody else made up? You ever hear anyone say you're a toothbrushing addict? People wake up every goddamn day and brush their teeth. Nobody goes, I'm addicted. I brush my teeth every day. So shit's just made up, guys. Stop doing drugs. You're not a drug addict anymore. Just stop. If you don't do drugs for the next week and you still call yourself a drug addict, that's some dumbass shit. And people told us that we need to say that. In fact, they get mad at you for not saying it. Wait, did you mention that you're an addict? You like raise your hand in a group. You're like, hi, I'm Mike. And they're like, Mike? Oh. Mike? Say it. I'm Mike. I'm an addict. Yeah. All right, go ahead and talk now, Mike. How fucking crazy is that? That is so insane. get angry at you for not saying it. I'm Art. And? Well, I haven't done drugs in 11 years. Say it. It's been 11 years. Okay, I'm Art, an addict. Well, shit, I better go relapse.
You gotta prove it.
I gotta prove it. Come back the next day. You guys got me. Yeah. Almost got away. They're like, don't get away. You need to be here every day. Yeah. All right. I don't know. Mindfulness is cool. It's cool. It's cool to be aware. You know, it's cool to know what you're experiencing. It's cool to be able to say, hey, wow, man, this is what I'm feeling right now. This is the experience I'm having. That's cool. Meditation. Woo. You know? Get angry and go home. Shit, it's because I didn't meditate enough. I did. They brainwashed me into that. I would be sitting at home. No, I'm serious.
We have a video of you.
Yeah, they made me do it. Dave Smith came, made us all close our eyes in the middle of a group.
He was great.
Everybody, close your eyes. We're going to meditate. Okay, shit. Well, I'm thinking about that girl I seen earlier.
Yeah.
Don't do that. That's not meditating. She was beautiful. Back to the breath. Ooh. And then somebody gets on the stage. Noah Levine, he meditates in front of like 60,000 people in an audience. Can you imagine that? He gets a crowd of 60,000 people in the stadium, and then he goes like this. Everyone's like, oh! I went to Eckhart Tolle. Everyone there is like, hasn't washed their hair. What is it? With peace, and I don't wash my hair. Why don't I got these what do you call them? Dreadlocks. Dreadlocks. I got these dreadlocks. I don't wash my hair because I'm a peaceful person. I'm like, oh, and then they all sat around. So we're coming. You go to Eckhart Tolle. Tell me this as an identity. If you go to Eckhart Tolle, we went to San Diego for his conference. So you walk in, and it's 25 minutes before the show. No talking, full room. Everyone's already there. The whole room's there, and they're all like this. Everyone's there. And then some people are sitting on the side, and they're meditating, waiting for him. And then their feet are bare, and they're dirty. And I'm like, wow, this is what I got to do, man. This is it. This is going to save my life, dude.
But he has shoes on, huh?
Oh, yeah. And he came out. And then then he sits on the stage. This goes on for like 20 minutes. I'm not lying. No talking. He goes. And it's so awkward. Yeah. And then you're like, oh, okay. And then he goes, there's a ding. Ding. And then we start. No, then it goes like 4 hours. And then, yeah. And then you go to dinner. Get a big ribeye. That's the best part. Big ribeye and a baked potato. Everyone checks their phone. Listen, I'm insane. It's all insane. You know? Talk to me. But I was in there. I thought every time I got angry, it was because my meditation practice wasn't going good enough.
Yeah.
It was not because there was a prick making me angry. You know, I'm yelling at somebody for like backing into my car for the third time at the big house, you know, like losing my shit. Like, this is the third time, dipshit. And then I'm like home. Oh man, I shouldn't have yelled. I mean, it's gone too far, you know?
Doesn't make it better yelling.
Yeah, you know, you don't need to hit my car. Like, stop. How many? Yeah. You know, my wallet's missing. Don't yell, Art. Don't yell. I'm pretty convinced nowadays when I yell, someone's being an asshole. I've gotten myself calm enough at least to, you know, for sure. For sure. I mean, I haven't yelled in months, but when I did the last time, someone was real being an asshole.
There's no doubt.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys have seen it. Yeah. Yeah. But yet they convinced me that any yelling is wrong. Well, yeah. Oh. I don't know.
We're down to about 6 minutes.
Yeah.
So, hey guys out there, if anybody at home has any questions, comments, please raise your hand. Anybody here?
And like I said, this is just a talk. This is life. And pick up anything you want or put down anything you want. I truly don't care. Like, I don't care. You know, I mean, you know, there's one that we always wanted to create a program where we said to people, you know, and I always saw that. I went to a lot of different programs. I tried everything. I tried Buddhist programs. I tried Eckhart. I tried the Forum. I tried a church. Through my 11 years of recovery, I tried it all. And every time I went at the beginning of the opening, they said, take whatever you want, leave the rest. You don't have to believe in what we believe in. But at the end of the road, at all those things, there was a belief system that I had to believe in. They wanted you to sell out to that. And what I'm proud of is that I really, truly can't find one here. So if anyone asks you what you have to believe in coming here, nothing. You just have to take whatever you want. And I can't, because I don't believe in anything. So there's nothing for me to, you know, and there's not, so it's just taking what you want and saying, this is what we talked about. And this is a philosophical conversation about life. And that doesn't equate to somebody not using drugs or using drugs. The way that you don't use drugs is that you don't use drugs. And if you do use drugs, then you're using drugs. So, and if you want to stop using drugs, then you should stop using drugs. And if you don't want to stop using drugs, then you shouldn't stop using drugs. And if you've had enough pain, which a lot of us have, if you've had enough pain and enough, you know what I said today to somebody? I said, you know what I got tired of with drugs and what made me quit was I got tired of coming to that table of life's judgment. So what really truly made me not try to behave my best, whether it's paying my taxes, whether it's being faithful to a woman, whether it's, you know, telling the truth, not doing drugs. What I got tired of is that scenario where people got to judge my behavior, where I had to sit like underneath someone where they went, you shouldn't be behaving like that, Art. Whether that was a judge, a police officer, anyone, I didn't ever want to come back there. So the most inspiring thing for me to behave well was the power to have my own life lived the way I want to live it. Like the answering to no one. And to do that, I tell you guys that, yeah, you can't use drugs because you'll always end up on your knees when it pertains to drugs in some form. You can't lie. You have to pay your taxes. You can't cheat. You have to be honest with people. And all those things will make it so you can have control or power to live your life the way you want to live it. And that still might do it all the way. There still might be some more factors, but, you know, you still might have to go to Boeing and punch the time clock and put up with that asshole. But, at some point.
I think one of the biggest detriments, well, for me, is like, this constant lie that you come up with. And in general, I'll just say myself in general. So this constant lie that a life in which, let's say I'm working a job, say manager over at Shucks, right? 5 days a week, working 40 hours a week, maybe sometimes overtime. Then I get done working 4 hours a week, then I'm home on the weekends. Monday rolls around and I'm back at it again, and there I am. That's my life. Working 40 hours a week, okay, then I deserve the weekend off. I take the weekend off. And then it puts me in the mindset where it's a lie, because I'm telling myself that not only do I deserve to be at this spot, but I'm safe.
Yeah.
And I'm no longer in the position to where, I have to expect more
Of yourself.
of myself,
Yeah.
right? And to go farther in life and to be successful. And it is a lie, because what it is, it's a life that you're trying to live without doubt, doing everything you can to get yourself away from it, rather than defeating it, getting on the other side of it, because it's a life of doubt. If I go home right now, with what I'm doing with my life, going home, thinking I can go home, have a few days off, and then come back without expecting more, especially that I have kids that I don't see, that I'm not, haven't been able to take responsibility for, up until a certain point. I have, my credit score is 4. You know what I mean? I can't buy a house. You know what I mean? To think,
4.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah.
4. To think that a life of just stagnantness, of just working, home, working, and nothing else is insanity.
Yeah.
It's a lie that this safe way of living
It's going to get you something.
Yeah, and it does nothing. It's zero. Yeah.
I think that's what I've kind of come to terms with, is that we're not talking about doing drugs or not doing drugs, and we're not trying to give you some application to solve that. But we do need to talk about being behind. And I'll tell you what, it's never really talked about. I always hear, and I used to hear, great lives, and you can live. Listen, guys, the more you use drugs, the further behind you're getting. And by getting behind, what I mean is, this is the first generation of people. This is the first generation of Americans. And I say my generation is like the last of them, but this is the generation right behind me. And even my generation is the first one that I've seen not live their life for their retirement, like not even care about it. Like, I cannot believe how many people my age do not talk about retirement at 48 years old, do not have a plan, nothing. And I will tell you, the most honest thing I can tell you about if I could say my addiction was bad in any way, it put me behind 17 years. And you do not get the time back. And you cannot lose 17 years on working on your retirement and then have one. And most, the people that are really happy right now in their 60s, they live their life really well, considering their retirement, considering how much they had to put away each year, what it was going to be like, how much money was going to be left, and how that money was going to make it from the time they were 60 to 85. They planned all that. So if you're sitting here in your 30s and 40s and you're not planning on that, you're behind. And that doesn't mean anything. It just means you're behind. And it means, like Kyle's saying, there's work to do. And that's okay, because we're talented people and everyone in here's got those kind of skills. So just get to work. If you're a drug addict and you've done that, it's fine. I was 37. I'm pretty set up. I've setting myself up in the last 11 years. It's took hard work, but in 11 years, I'm getting set up that I might be able to retire. And that is something, because I gave away 17 years. So you can't get that back. And, I want to just be clear that going forward, that's it. We have conversations about mindfulness and spirituality and honesty and integrity and being a victim and the racket. And we've learned so much, and all that stuff is tremendously valuable, but it's not valuable when it pertains to whether you're going to use drugs or not. that's on everyone's here. And as a family member, what I'm suggesting tonight is, let's not suggest that because you have a kid that's in addiction, that somehow diminishes their talents and their skills. And that would better suit us to try to like flourish and promote those skills and not like settle for whatever we were going to settle for because my kid is an addict. He ate a lot of Hershey bars, you know? So, you know, and I think that in this conversation about life and the conversation I like to have about addiction or whatever's over here that they're trying to relate to, I like to kind of just bash through everything that's kind of said, not in a way that I'm challenging just everything to be a challenging asshole. I'm challenging it because what I see is a story that's created for you to live into. And that is not just negligent, but dangerous. And the story that you're an addict and you'll always be one is a dangerous, negligent story. And the story that there's a stigma on being a heroin addict. And no, you know what? Stigma is a good thing, by the way. And people don't say this enough. There is a stigma on smoking cigarettes right now because it's extremely harmful for you and you shouldn't do it. And we shouldn't just go, it's okay to smoke out. It is now more okay to shoot heroin outside of a restaurant than it is to smoke cigarettes, because we've now said that this person shouldn't be stigmatized. No, somebody should walk out. And in high school, if your high school quarterback was shooting heroin, people would say, "Ooh, he shouldn't be doing that. That's not good. That's a weird behavior." But if they remove the stigma, they're saying it's acceptable behavior as a human being. Shooting heroin is an unacceptable behavior as a human being. Smoking fentanyl is unacceptable. Hence, everyone that does it dies. If you care about people, leave the stigma on it. Don't do it. But there is a hard time, and I won't say there's a stigma on people in recovery, but there's a hard time that people need to go through in early recovery. Yeah. There's a tough time. There's a tough time where you feel as a human being inferior, less than, and are filled with doubt. And I can say that from my experience. And that's the time where people do need love, where people do need to be promoted.
Yeah.
But not promoted and loved while they're shooting heroin. Nobody needs that. Not told, "Hey, that was great. I like how you pooped on the sidewalk. That was awesome. I'll come clean it up for you." No, clean that shit up. Don't do that. Get up. Yeah, get up out of your tent, stand up, do what you need to do. You're not a drug addict. You're doing drugs every day. That doesn't make you anything. If you stop, you can have a life. So here, come on. And we've created this story that somehow somebody's a drug addict, and there's this almost predictable path that once somebody's called a drug addict, they have to live. A truly predictable path where they have to go to treatment over and over, where they have to it is really baffling. They have to say things. They have to drink a lot of coffee. They have to vape. Almost everything comes with it. I've got to now live in a tent for a period of time. Everybody's got this predictable addict path, and that's very suspicious.
Adopt dogs.
Huh?
Adopt dogs.
Adopt dogs they can't house.
Dude, pretty soon it's going to be like, I'm Kyle. I identify as a drug addict. My pronouns are he/meth.
Well, what if people start identifying as a drug addict that's never done drugs? That's a new one. We could do that. People could start just checking into treatment on their insurance. And yes. What can the treatment center do? They have to accept you. Just check in. Go to the one in Malibu and stay for 3 months. Kristen, let's try this. All right. Well, so anyways, we will continue the conversation. And I don't know where it's going to go, but it's going to definitely, hopefully, like I said, every week it's designed to just make you think. And I would really like it to make you talk, but I'm not very good at making people talk. I'm trying. So I'm just not very good at it. People are scared of me or something. So yeah, maybe they got doubt, but I really love to hear people's doubts, and I'd love to hear this topic continue. So once again, thank you for coming this week, and we'll see you next week.
Good night.